Hey everyone, welcome to the results video of my inverted coaster contest. Now, like the name suggests, in this contest everybody had to make an inverted coaster. Well, everybody had like 3.5 weeks to make an entry and then submit it to me. Now everybody has voted, given their ratings, and the results have been announced on my Discord. In this video I will just show you all the entries and the score that they got, and I will give a little bit of my comment on them. Anyway, I already want to thank everybody who joined the contest. Without you guys submitting your entries, this contest would be worth nothing, of course. So yeah, great thank you for everybody who joined. Alright, let's get on with the entry that got last place, and then we'll continue on until we reach the one that got first place. Alright, here we have the entry that got last place. This one was made by Brothers XD, or his smiley face. He wanted to make a recreation of Nemesis, the inverted coaster at Alton Towers. Well, the layout does sort of follow the same layout as Nemesis does, but when making a recreation in Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 you really have to take some liberties. Because the creator, Brothers, he was complaining that the inversions in Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 are too small. Well, that's just something you gotta deal with. So really, you shouldn't make these large stretches of track to combine stuff, really. Just make your coaster a little bit more compact if you can then use the smaller inversions a bit better. Other than that, these buildings, they all use the same textures. They could have, probably if you use a little bit more materials, then they will look much better and people will rate your entry much better. So you can see a bit of the flying coaster here, the Alton Towers Galactica, but sadly it's misspelled here, the Galactica. So yeah, I can see why this coaster got last place. It can definitely be improved in many places. Alright, here we have the coaster that got 30th place. Well, what you can already immediately see in this map is that most of it is just filled with trees and some water landscapes. So yeah, if this land was filled more with park and rides rather than just trees, then it would have probably scored a lot better. Also, some of the benches seem to be vandalized. There's lots of vomit on the paths. And the coaster layout, well, it's not really that spectacular. It could have probably been a bit bigger, a bit more eye-catching, and then probably would have scored a lot better. Alright, here we have the coaster made by Deith, also known as Ben. Well, what you can immediately see here is that the coaster is glitching a lot. It's probably because he made his coaster using the OpenGL drawing engine. Well, I cannot use it on my laptop because it will look like this. Yeah, it's very glitchy, and you can see I cannot use this drawing engine. So let's put it back. Now, what you should never do if you want to remove supports above water, never put the elements under the surface using the tail inspector. If they are above land, you can do it. For example, here you can move the track on the surface and the support disappears. Above water, you should never do that. Instead, you could, for example, I will show you really quickly. You could put some gardens under it. Use the tail inspector and just move the gardens under the water and the supports will be gone. I actually made a video on hiding supports, so just watch that video tutorial and then that should really help you to do this. But yeah, remember, don't do it above water or else your track pieces will disappear. And if you're using the OpenGL drawing engine to make your park, really just when you're done, just check using the normal drawing engine if there's any glitching stuff happening, or else people viewing your park may really get disappointed with it. Alright, here's the entry from CXM1060. He made a Harry Potter inspired inverted coaster. Well, at least the layout of the coaster is quite impressive. I mean, the supports, they probably could have, he could have probably done a better job on that. I do like these coaster cars flying around. They call them Dementors. Other than that, these buildings could really use a little bit more textures, a little bit more variety, colors, stuff. This doesn't really look like a castle from the Harry Potter universe. Also, when you're making buildings, what he did here is, well, actually you can see grass on the inside. You should really avoid that. Another thing you should avoid is these walls look really thin now. What I usually do is, let's delete these paths. Also just place some walls on the inside like this. And then your building doesn't look so thin. Now let's put some other textures here on the paths, just so it looks like there's not grass inside. And that will already make your buildings a lot better usually. And remember to use some different textures for the walls and don't make it all the same. That will just make your buildings look big, bland and uninspired. Alright, here we have the entry from itsjustcurtis. Well, one thing you immediately see is that everything's in the same colors. The layout for the coaster, it's okay. But yeah, the land here is very empty. You should really put some decorations here, some extra buildings, I don't know. And don't make everything in the same colors. I mean, it's okay if one color pops out several times, but you should combine it with different colors. So there's a wild mouse here, but really you shouldn't use these enclosed cars. They're really they're from the expansions, and these enclosed cars for any coaster are just really dumb in my opinion. Another thing you really shouldn't do is use the standard rides from the original game. Here you can see Escape Hatch. He even used the same name, but he just colored their windows orange instead of red. Don't use these, people will recognize them and it will make you look very lazy. Alright, in 26th place we have this entry made by Nether Explorer 3. The layout of this coaster is quite nice. You can see it drops down here, then curves into a loop. It actually drops down even more and goes into a big loop. I kinda like this sequence of events, that's pretty cool. Let's stop it from raining. It always, for some reason, starts to rain as soon as I open any of these sparks. There's actually some nice scenery. You shouldn't really just throw around barrels and stuff, and I mean, well, you could, but that doesn't really make it your park look better. I think you should really make some actual mine buildings before you can really call it a mine theme. Other than that, there's some buildings over here. I'm not really sure about these buildings. I don't really know what this is supposed to be. And when you make these, use these wooden mine roofs, you shouldn't cover the gap at all with these straight mine walls. Instead, you should take a wooden fence, put it to the side like this, and then with Tile Inspector, I'm now holding Control, clicking it, and then you can slope it like this. Just put it a little bit lower, and now it will be covering the hole in the wall like that. Then you can put some stuff behind it. Like that. Oh, I failed it. That's why you need to use some Tile Inspector stuff to reorder stuff, but then the hole behind the roof will be covered. I actually use this a lot, and I think it's the best way to cover these holes. Something else you could do, which is even easier, is just disable clearance checks and just build one of these roofs here on that same location. Then also the gap under the roof is covered. Make sure to place the wooden roof first and then place the normal roof on the same tile after that. Alright, then we have the entry from JKalenad. What immediately pops up is these custom supports that he made using the inverted impulse coaster. I don't really think they look good here. It's a bit too, well, yeah, it looks very busy, very messy. Maybe it would have been better if you just used one color or a different color than the track. But yeah, I think it could have improved here and used something that actually looked nicer. I do like the monorail track that's on top of the lift hill. The layout is okay. These buildings, I think they look a bit too square to actually look nice. He probably could have improved a bit here. I do like that he used some layering here, but I don't think the building necessarily looks nice. Probably some bit more variation in the roof styles would have helped. So the building here is just very square. That usually doesn't help the look of the buildings. I do like the little junior coaster that he put here. That actually looks quite cool. Alright, here we have the entry from Kaasvlinder. He did make a nice inverted coaster. Although I think it is a bit high off the ground here. They usually tend to stick a bit more to the landscape. I think it ignores the landscape a bit too much here. I do like this turnaround here, that's quite cool. Something that is a bit strange to me is the choice of colors here. I mean, there's a blue and yellow track, and the supports, well, the catwalk here is purple and blue, and the supports are red and black. You should really stick to just a few colors, because right now it just looks, yeah, it looks strange. I saw a lot of comments on the color weird color choices, and I kind of agree with that. So yeah, for example, you chose black here for the supports, then also just stick to black for the supports here. In the catwalk, I think you should either just make it blue, yellow, or also black. Other than that, there's some nice stuff here in the park. I do think this launch tree fall is kind of weird. It's usually just better, I think, to just get rid of this scenery here and just give your guests a clear view of the surroundings. But yeah, that's just my opinion. Alright, here's the entry from Brian3D, newcomer on my server. He made this, I kind of like this inverted coaster layout. The station is right here on the top of this mountain. First drops down here, goes through this giant loop here. Then through 0-0, and then here's some more inversions and twisty track. Also a little brake run in the middle, and then in the end it returns here to this station where the guests get out, and then actually the empty train gets launched through this inversion and then goes back to the top station. I do like how these trains are timed to travel through these inversions at the same time. What I don't like is how this train is actually always empty when it gets launched. I think that really detracts from the experience. I mean, it's probably kind of a waste to actually launch a roller coaster train without any guests through an inversion. It would have maybe been nicer to have some blocked section here, I don't know. But yeah, it would have probably been nicer if you didn't actually launch an empty train. Other than that, there were some weird design choices, like this really small go-karts track. I do sort of like this maze, that's quite nice. Alright, let's move on to the next one. Alright, here's the entry from Silly Sparkleface. It's a really big coaster. It does have some nice inversions here. What I didn't like about the coaster was these long stretches of straight track. You should really try to avoid those. I mean, it's probably nicer if you actually make the coaster twist through the track a bit or use some wide curves. No, it generally just looks a lot better. I think the coaster is a little bit too big for this park. Would have probably been nicer if it looked a little bit more compact. Use some more of the small loops. Well, other than that, I do think it has some nice scenery here. I kind of like the little houses here. What I don't really like is the big station here. I mean, it uses a lot of the same type of wall. It just looks very massive. Yeah, Probably you should have used a little bit more different textures here, or at least avoid using too much of the same wall in such a square pattern. Also, another thing many people commented on is that the park is just way too crowded. Probably some cheats were used to put some more guests in the park, but this is really just way too much. Alright, here's the entry from Ricardowordo. He actually made a nice little compact inverted coaster. I kind of like the layout. It's simple, just a loop, some more inversions, helixes. It actually looks quite nice. This layout is quite decent. Also, I really like the scenery here. The station for this coaster is really good. There's a rotor drop here, which also looks really nice. One user on my Discord, Swagtitties, he actually made many different stations for people to use. And Ricardo, I think, well, at least he copied this station, and I'm not sure, but I think he also copied this one. But they actually look really nice, so good job on that. I think what kept them from scoring higher was that, yeah, most of the map is just covered in trees and landscaping, and it would have been nicer if there was more park stuff to look at, maybe some extra rides or stuff like that. Alright, here we have the entry from Trumavarium. He did actually make a nice coaster layout. I kind of like it. I don't really like this setup of elements, these three inversions in a row. I think two of the coasters that are in the game, standard layouts, they use this sequence of inversions. You won't see this on any real inverted coasters, but okay. Something that bothers me a bit in this map is the lack of windows on the building. I mean, they have a few windows, but other than that, there's lots of the same kind of wall type here. So yeah, really, when you make buildings, just make sure they get a lot of windows. Just real buildings are also full of windows, and they make your building look so much better. So yeah, don't just use normal walls, use windows. Alright, here's the entry from Jochem. I haven't seen anything from him in a long time. But yeah, it's nice to see him back in action. He actually made a dueling inverted coaster. So actually here in the beginning they get launched on this section, I think with a hidden chain lift. Then they go up through this inversion, through these loops, and they will go through these spiraling sections under the pyramid. Here's some more helixes. And then at the end they arrive at the brake run and they come back to the station. But yeah, I really like how the dueling is done for this coaster. Let's see if we can see it in action. Right, there you go. I'll speed it up a little bit. So yeah, they travel nicely through this spiral. I like how they go in opposite directions here under the pyramid. And then you can see them pass over and under each other here again. So yeah, I kind of like the way this looks. That the dueling is done really well here. There's also a splash boat ride. There's a big drop here and then immediately turn around the corner. That's probably not the best way to approach this. You should probably make the drop somewhere around here with a longer straight section for the boat to actually lose some speed before it goes around the corner. This is a bit insane. I do like all the scenery around here. I think he could have made some nicer gardens around here. So a lot of the land is just strange shapes. Some extra gardens would have probably looked better, or some more Egyptian scenery. Alright, here we have the entry from Moebeezys. Moebeezys made a a B&M suspended looping coaster. It uses the layout from the Vekoma suspended looping coaster. So yeah, curve drop downwards into, I think they call it serpent roll. I'm not sure actually. They always have these weird names for inversions. So yeah, this is a standard suspended looping coaster layout, but actually with B&M track. I'm not sure, but this could maybe actually be enjoyable in real life. with less headbanging than you experience now on these type of coasters. I really like the building that that was made for the transfer track. You can actually see an extra car in here, extra train in here, I mean. But that's quite cool. So the station building, I really like it. And next to the right, there's another section with a river rapid ride and a water coaster with a lot of Egyptian scenery. I really like the way this Egyptian scenery looks. I love the Sphinx here. The pyramid is also in a really nice location. There's some really nice hanging gardens here. That's really cool. Yeah, I think it would have been rated higher if it didn't have all the square path around the park. You should really try to avoid that. But other than that, I really like most of the stuff that's here in this submission. Okay, here we have the park from BeachSMG. Well, as you can see, everything's just concentrated in this little corner of the park. It's a small inverted coaster layout. I think one issue with this coaster is that it's actually set to wait for full load. Well, there's not many guests in the park. So yeah, it will take ages for it to actually leave the station. So yeah, make sure that you don't set that option if you only have few guests in your park. So I think one train would have been enough for this coaster. You can see it pop out of this, pop out of the land a few times. It just has more twisty track underground. I do like the high amount of detail in this area of the park. Looks amazing. Would have been even more amazing if it would have been extended to more of the park, like 3/4. It would have easily landed in the top 10, I think. But yeah, now the score is a bit less. I do really like these boats with her shooting cannonballs at each other. They're actually junior coaster cars that are launched uphill. But I think it's a really cool effect. It's just very creative. So there's a bit more of landscaping here. But yeah, I wish there was more to the park than just this corner here. So yeah, I think it's a bit of a missed opportunity. Alright, here we have the park made by Raider2022. So yeah, he actually made a sort of a futuristic park based on Roswell, I think. So yeah, actually when the coaster leaves the station, it gets launched in this section using a fast chain lift. Then it travels up this hill and then through some really twisty track here. Sadly, this coaster only has 2 inversions. These inverted coasters usually have 4 to 7 inversions in the track, because they don't really benefit from any airtime. Also, it travels through these hills quite slowly. I think it would have been better if he just, instead of this hill, just put an inversion here. Or maybe 2 interlocked loops would have been great in this location. I think it's a bit of a missed opportunity. So yeah, I'm a bit disappointed actually with the inverted coaster. But the other coaster here that's here is really cool. It's a mine train coaster. It actually has a switchback element, so at some point it reverses and then does some of the track backwards. I really recommend you to just download this park and check it out for yourself. If you want to download these parks, you can become a member on my Discord server. If you don't know what Discord is, it's a free app, so you can download it as a standalone application on your PC, but you can also download it as an app on your phone, or you can just use it in your browser as well, so then you don't have to download anything. You do have to make an account, but then you can just chat with other people who really like this game, and you can also download all of these maps from all of my contests. So yeah, you should give it a try if you haven't. I think it's a really nice app. Alright, let's move on to the next park. Alright, we're halfway through the parks. This one is the one made by ScratchJaxon. I think he based the coasters off poems made by Edgar Allan Poe, if I remember the name correctly. I'm sorry if I butchered it. I really like the look of this coaster. He's used the palette to make it a bit of a more, I think, a bit of more of a bluish color. I think it works really well here. The coaster was supposed to have a bit of a dark, eerie coloring to it. I really love the look of this coaster. It has a really nice sequence of inversions. First the giant loop, go barrel roll, 0G roll, then lots of twisty track. Here's a bit of a brake run, then it goes over the lift hill. Let me change the weather to sunny. Here it has a bat wing, some more inversions. So yeah, I really like the look of this coaster. It actually looks really clean. It sticks to a bit to this side of the map, and the rest of the map is filled with nice buildings, paths. Everything just looks really nice. Also really like all the rocks that he put here on the shore of the island. Yeah, this definitely gets my approval. He even managed to use the water spouts here in an aesthetically pleasing way. I really like the way this looks. So yeah, great job on making this map. Definitely one of my favorite entries. Okay, here's the entry from Stephen Neck 3. Oh yeah, this one actually really surprised me. Stephen Neck really improved a lot. I love how he did the lift hill of the roller coaster, but also has some really nice inversions, some nice support structures. What I like most is how he did all the buildings here. They are really nice. Big variety of walls here and also roofs. Lots of tracker texture used. For example, for these towers here, he actually used the funnel cake shop to make the top of the buildings. Used some towers here with monorail track to make supports for the helix here. So yeah, I mostly like how all the buildings look in this map. He really did a great job on that. Also, for example, he used these sunglass shops here to make the roof of this building. I think that's really creative. You don't see many people do that. So yeah, overall I really like this entry, and Stephen did a great job. Alright, then we have this entry made by MrFrally. Oh, I also really love this entry. Well, yeah, let's start with this station building here. I think it looks really impressive. Nice layering here on the walls. You can see he used the medieval walls with pirate walls behind it, just to get these nice looking windows. I like how the chain lift actually travels up this hill and really hugs the ground. That's really nicely done. And the coaster really tunnels through the ground many times and just often pops up in unexpected places. I really love the way this is done. Kind of reminds me of some of the coasters that were pre-made in Roller Coaster Tycoon 1, which really tunneled through the ground with their inversions. So yeah, I just love the landscaping on this. That Wi-Fi though. So yeah, actually there's a rotor drop that pops out of the mountain here. But yeah, I just love how the landscaping is done on this map, and the coaster just uses the elevation of the land so well. So yeah, this is a great entry, and it deserves getting placed this high. So yeah, great job from MrFrally. Alright, here we have the entry from Satan's Camaro 15. Well, you can immediately see this inverted coaster diving down here and then passing over this inversion upside down. This is a crazy inversion. He merged some multi-dimension coaster track here. Yeah, this is just insane. I also love the support work he did here. So the colors are great. You can see he did a bit of a palette color change here. Oh yeah, for this round people were allowed to use a different color palette, and I think he did great on this one. So yeah, the shades of brown are a little bit darker here, and the white also has an interesting color here. So yeah, I think that's really cool. So he actually used some different track types throughout the track. Let me switch off the rain. But yeah, I really love this first inversion. It's really crazy. You can see it go down here again, upside down. So I love the support work here on this coaster. That actually looks really nice. Also here on the lift hill, that's really cool. So the coaster just has a really nice layout. Lots of inversions, lots of twisty track. Yeah, just really nicely done. Also, for example, here you can see the catwalk under the track made with wooden coaster track and some ghost train track, and that also looks really nice. Maybe he should have let it draw the supports here at some points, because the track looks a bit under supported here. But yeah, that's just a minor issue. I also really like how he did the transfer track here. That's quite cleverly done. So yeah, there's really many good design choices in this map. There's just so much here to like, and I really love the color shenanigans that he did. So yeah, great entry overall. Alright, now in the 11th place we have this entry made by Davey. He made this inverted coaster here. The first drop is interesting, it's just an inline twist followed by a big half loop. And then it goes to a cobra roll, and then there's this really cool looking helix thing here. I really like the way this looks. And then after that there's another section with some more inversions and some more helixes. In the beginning this was only helixes, but I advised him to add some extra inversions here, and I think it really worked out well. I told Davey he had top 10 material, but he just missed out with 11th place. But yeah. I think he did a great job on the buildings here. I love how he made the sloped walls using the dodge jumps, and yeah, everything just looks really nice. So yeah, great job from Davey. Okay, here's the entry from Myna. Myna made the hanging gardens of Babylon with a roller coaster that was added to them. I really like the way these gardens look. Maybe it's a lot of the same. I think I would have liked a little bit more variation, but really the stuff that's there all looks good. I like how all the inversions really pop out of the structures. For example, you can see the lift hill here with the loop, then it goes inside the structures, and then later it pops out of the ground here again with this 0G roll. So cobra roll here, some more inversions. But yeah, I like how the inversions are really the only parts of the coaster that are visible. I think that's really well done. You can also see some other rides here. There's a launched freefall, and there's also a splash boat ride. Unlike the one from Jochem, this one actually does have some straight track to actually lose some speed before it goes around the corner. So yeah, that's probably a clever choice. So yeah, like I said, a bit more variation would have been a bit nicer, but overall this all looks really great. So great job from Myna. Alright, this is the entry from I Am Bear. You can see the inverted coaster traveling down here. I think his story was something like an abandoned factory with some random ass buildings and a coaster for no reason. So yeah, that pretty much sums it up. I do like all the buildings that he placed down. These buildings look really nice. Big variation of walls and roofs. And it all just combines really well. It's also a junior coaster down here. I think this is supposed to be a collapsed building. But yeah, I think it works really well. I really like the way this junior coaster looks. And also the inverted coaster, it just has a really nice layout with a big variety of inversions and also helixes. Yeah, like I said, these buildings all just look really nice. So yeah, I sort of just like everything about this map. So it's actually a great job from I Am Bear. Right, here we have the entry from What the Hexadecimal. This was one of my favorite entries. I think it was themed after favela in Brazil, or that's something like that in the name. You can see people with all the yellow, green and blue balloons, which are the colors of Brazil. I sort of like that. Also, these I really like the buildings here. They're pretty old school. It's like how people used to make buildings in Roller Coaster Tycoon 1 with all the doors for windows. But I actually think it works quite well here. Of course, yeah, in Roller Coaster Tycoon 2, you just place the walls, so you have a bigger choice of colors. So it looks a bit more vibrant than you would get it in Roller Coaster Tycoon 1. What I loved most was the church that he put here. I really like the way that's done. These windows are great, and these spires are also great. He actually used pieces of park entrance to make the spires of these towers. That's a really clever trick. Other than that, the layout of this coaster is really cool. There's a bit of a corkscrew in the beginning, just like Nemesis. I think the stats of this coaster were actually a bit too extreme, so we actually put a ride in this in the map somewhere hidden, which has an infinite track, just so we could modify the stats of this roller coaster, which now has okay stats. But yeah, other than that, just lots of nice stuff in this map. I really recommend you to download these maps and check them out for yourself. They're really nice. But I also really like how this splash boat ride also travels through the church. It's it's a really cool map. One of my favorites as well. Alright, here in 7th place we have the entry made by me. I made this big red roller coaster here in the canyon setting. I was actually quite happy with the layout. At some point I wanted to start over because I didn't really like the theme that I went for, but I decided to just continue with it anyway, just because I was so happy with the layout. So yeah, here we have the station, just a big set of this big combination of buildings. Also place some TNT barrels and stuff everywhere. Let me quickly turn off the rain. So yeah, it travels downward here through this big curve. Then there's a loop, a 0G roll. Then here's a dive loop into a tunnel. Then pops out again into a helix. Then there's another tunnel and travels through this batwing here, right under the 0G roll. And then here it does the rest of the layout with some extra corkscrews and helixes. So yeah, I was actually really happy about the location of this batwing under the 0G roll. I really liked how it worked out in the end. Yeah, I also made a river rapids ride here. And maybe I'm placing down these river rapids a bit too often, but I really like making them. Just put down some Wild West buildings here. It's a little bit of a food stand here. Also use some of the standard Wild West buildings around this go-kart track. So yeah, overall I was quite happy with how this worked out in the end. Maybe I could have gone a bit further, made it look a bit more impressive. But in the end I was happy with how this worked out, and I kind of enjoyed building this. Alright, then we get to 6th place. This one was made by HenkDeSuperNerd, and damn, this is one impressive build. He made this big palace and another big building here, and this big palace actually has two dueling inverted coasters. You can see them go down the hill here, and you can see them race against each other through these go-bar rolls. And then after that they will pass through these loops at approximately the same time. I really love how with the path interaction, the path actually passes between these go-bar rolls and through these loops. So yeah, the dueling here is done really well together with the interaction here. Maybe it would have been nice if there were some maybe some extra walls here and some more stuff down here. But I do like how the landscaping is done in this part. For some reason it keeps raining. It's quite annoying. Alright, here's a little building as well with some river rapids in it. Also some other rides here on the bottom. So yeah, overall I think it's really impressive what HenkDeSuperNerd put down here. What I like most actually is how we did these, the land under these big spires. What are they called? These palace domes. So I actually put some banked BMM track under it, actually some bobsleigh track under it, followed by wooden track under that. So yeah, you actually see the base get wider to the bottom. But yeah, this is really really nicely done, I think. I really like it. So, great job. Right, here we have the entry that got 5th place. This one was made by Skiffa. It's actually a launched inverted coaster. And it actually uses inverted impulse coaster track for most of it. And then Giga coaster track in the curves. I think it actually gives a really nice effect to the coaster. I really like the way this looks. It's an insane layout. It even has some towers which it travels partly up, and then it does some of the track backwards. There's just so much stuff to look at. There's tons and tons of track texture. He also did some palette shenanigans. He actually turned the water black. So that's a really cool trick. I think it works really well. Well, lots of this black stuff is actually just the top of a maze. You can actually see the side of the maze here, but yeah, it's completely black. So and mixed with some of the tar pit pieces, I think it gives a really convincing oil effect. So yeah, overall, well, I gave this map the maximum score. It was just so awesome. There's just so much to look at. So there's just so much here that I cannot cover it all in this video. So yeah, I recommend you just download this map and check it for yourself. It's really epic. One thing that I liked a lot was actually this Ferris wheel here with the chairlift track, and then the swinging inverter ship here in the end. It all just looks so convincing. It's really nicely done. So yeah, like I said, just go download this park and check it out for yourself. There's just so much to see here that you'll probably see new stuff every time you open the map. Okay, here's the map that got 4th place. This one was made by Swagtitties. He just missed out on 3rd place by 0.01. So I can understand if he's a bit salty about that. But I know he likes joining these competitions more than actually winning them. So actually the coaster gets launched here from the station up this hill and travels through this inversion at quite a high speed. He said it was actually designed to actually throw off your shoes, because people don't wear shoes in Amazon. It was quite a fun reason. The coaster actually travels through this weird inversion here. He called it the Loop to Triumph. I actually really like it. It's just a large half loop followed by a normal half loop, and then the same elements in reverse. Then a cobra roll, some straight track, and it actually travels inside the mountains a few times. And then it pops out, for example, for this figure 8 here. Some more inversions here, corkscrews, so a dive loop here. There's just so many interesting elements here to look at. There's also a mini suspended coaster that goes around here called Smuggler's Escape. I also really like this ride. It just fits into the landscape so nicely. There's also a little cutout here in the corner. You can actually see the splash boats ride, and then the mini suspended coaster above it. This section just looks really good. Also, there's some really nice buildings all along. I really love Swagtitties' eye for detail. There's just so many nice details everywhere. What I liked most about this map was the trees here that he made. So yeah, he put some reverse freefall coaster tower pieces here, together with all these bushes around them. That just looks insane. I'm probably gonna steal this idea because it just looks too good. So yeah, lots of nice buildings all around here, ruins. And another thing I liked a lot in this map was this train that he made here. So yeah, you can see the normal locomotive here, and then there's this suspended monorail trains parked behind it, and that just looks awesome. It's a really cool trick. So yeah, overall great map. Too bad he missed out on third place, but getting in the top 4 in this contest is really good. So great job. Alright, here's the entry that got third place. This one was made by Mekkit. Mekkit consistently scores well in these competitions, and this entry was no exception. What immediately stands out here, what immediately pops out, is this diagonal lift hill with these awesome towers. They just look really good. The layout of this coaster is nice and compact, with a nice mix of inversions and helixes. It's really good. I also like, for example, the location of this co-barrel. Yeah, you should really place these elements where a lot of guests can see them, and this location is superb. It's really great. Also love this junior coaster that was built here. It's actually a mine train coaster using the junior coaster track with mine train coaster track under it, but this combination works really well. All these buildings, they really look amazing. I love this transfer track here that was made. Great buildings. I love how there was actually a wooden coaster track under these roofs. That gives a really nice effect. There's this ride here called Cactus Juice, a launched freefall. I just love the colors on this ride. So yeah, really everything in this map is done in a nice way. Also there's a really nice diagonal path here. Okay, I guess do a bit of a zigzag here. But yeah, this combination of a normal path with the what do you call it, triangular metal pieces actually works really well. So yeah, all in all, a great entry and well deserving of third place in this contest. Great job. Alright, here we have the entry that got second place. This one's made by Heiko, and this is just one impressive looking castle, palace. It also has a great story. Well, I don't really remember the story, but you can read it when you download the entries. So yeah, amazing looking castle. I love the river rapids that was placed on top to make this aqueduct. There's lots of water used here overall. Actually, I love this little waterfalls that he put here. I think these are from the river rapids track. Yeah, it also allows you to place waterfalls that look like this. I think it works really well here. For this layout, I really love these supports that were made here. They look really good. I think that's really impressive. The Batwing here is in such a nice location. Love the waterfall under it. So yeah, this is just superb landscaping. Really good layout for the coaster. The only section of the coaster that I didn't really like was this section here where it drops down and goes up a bit and then has an inversion. Yeah, it's just it looks a bit weird to me. But other than that, the rest of the coaster just looks amazing, and I'm glad many people agree with me that this is just one awesome park. Great job. Alright, and here we have the entry that got first place. This one was made by Mamarillas, and he made this awesome cruise ship with a coaster going through it. So you could see it go up the lift hill and pass through this loop. It also has an inversion inside. Well, it's a bit hard to follow, but here you can see it go through the Batwing placed at the back of the ship. This Batwing really looks awesome here at the back of the ship. This is integrated really well into the hull, into the design of the ship. That's awesome. Also love all the lifeboats that he placed. Using subs for lifeboats works really well. I also used this in the Brand Sigma. It was an oil platform that I made once, and yeah, it just works really well. They really look like real lifeboats. Other than that, great track texture all around on this map. I love how he used the monorail to make the shape of this boat. I think the shape of the boat is really nice. I love this little crane that he put here. He put some diagonal track on the bottom. Then he actually used a monorail car for the cabin of the crane. So yeah, that's actually a really cool trick. So I love this forklift that he made, also with a monorail cabin. Actually used some gravestones here and some barrels for wheels. Just really well done. I love it. And there's another little cool ride here. It's an inverted hairpin coaster, but he actually used the inverted shuttle cars, which have seats on both sides. He actually used single car trains, and he used the reverser elements here at some point. So it looks like the cars actually get reversed here. I don't think they actually get reversed. I think the same guests are always in front. But it is the effect is convincing enough. So yeah, that actually works quite well. You can get the reverser elements if you change the track into log flume track. So yeah, the track will actually be invisible there, but he covered it up nicely with these chain lifts. So yeah, I think this is a really cool ride. It's a really nice effect. Yeah, overall there's just really nice stuff on this map. Also underwater, there's some nice stuff to look at. You can actually see a creature crawl around here on the bottom, or maybe it's just swimming, I don't know. But yeah, overall this is a really good map, and this one clearly deserved to win the round. I think it got one of the highest score we've ever had in this contest. So yeah, great job on the cruise ship from Mamarillas, and I'm happy that he won. Now, if you like I said, if you want to download any of these entries, watch them for yourself, just join my Discord and go to the archive, and there you can see all of the entries. If you want to join any of these contests, again, just join my Discord server, and I announce every time one of these contests starts, and it will be there will be also a document which explains the rules and also how to join these. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. I surely enjoyed making it, and I surely enjoyed watching all these submissions, and I hope to see you again in the next one. See you later.